Once again, I'm going to speak from the heart, not be so scripted. As someone who's involved in the sociology of AI and understands some of its processes, and equally concerned, if not more concerned than any other person about its implications, I have seen so many forums and conferences and books and talks in which people talk about the implications of AI. And they, in my judgment, my humble judgment, many of these are conjectures. You know, we really don't know. I don't think we have even began to understand the significant implications of AI. However, what I have not seen enough of is someone who can come in and say, what should we do about AI? The public is extremely anxious about AI, and rightfully so. What should we do about AI in education? What should we do about AI in law? What should we do about AI in data? What should we do about AI in employment and human flourishing? So we've gathered an incredible a panel of experts for you. Now, I have been reminded by the experts themselves, and it shows you their humility. They said, well, don't think that we have the answers ourselves. So it's the kind of best effort. And in a sense, this is not an ordinary panel because it's not a panel discussion. It's an action panel. So we've asked each panelist to come up, really think hard about their area, and come up with 4 recommendations, 2 in favor and 2 to stop doing. So in education, 2 in favor, and what we're going to do is we're going to collect these and make them into a paper and videos and an advocacy document in which Cambridge and Cambridge Forum helps advocate on behalf of the public for a certain clarity, policy clarity related to AI. And I'm really glad that we have many representatives of UNESCO here. Maybe that's a possible connection, but we'll also lobby governments, lobby other institutions. I am really honored as the person who founded this forum to have assembled such a great panel of speakers. Each of them will introduce themselves and their area, and then they will list the recommendations and make a case why they've made them. With the full disclaimer that you guys can also come up with your own recommendations. So maybe this will be the start of an engaging discussion about what should we do about AI. Please join me in welcoming the panel. We will start with Dr. Aga.
Right.
Sorry.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Aga Iwasiewicz-Wabnik. I'm director of the Maxwell Center at the University of Cambridge. Maxwell Center brings together scientists, technologists, researchers, entrepreneurs across physical sciences, technology, and our strategy focuses on the role of science and technology in delivering a robust, healthy society of 2051. And since I'm probably alphabetically first, I think what I will say, I'll get into those, but I'll tell you first why I've selected those things. First of all, I really don't believe AI to be in any way magic or special. It's just a form of technology. It's just very unknown to us at the moment, and that's why we need to be discerning about how we use it, where we use it, at which pace we roll it out. So consider it being a new toy. It's absolutely fine to go forward, test it, play with it, find out what it's good for, what you shouldn't do with it, but then understand any potential side effects that it might have, measure the risk, make your own judgment, and take your own informed decision about how it will work. And we have a responsibility as society not only to do it for our individual use, but also for basically all of us and the planet we're living on. So my recommendations, the 4, are focus on material impact and regulate by facts, not hype. One thing that I am surprised about is how few people actually understand what it takes to answer your query on ChatGPT. It was mentioned by Leona already, it's hugely consumptive of water, of energy. It is still very inefficient. Data centers release a lot of energy they consume in terms of heat. We really don't need any more of that. I think it's very important that we, first of all, educate our users what it really takes to run your AI algorithms, and then use them when you can see the cost benefit to be positive. And this is my second recommendation. Use discernment and avoid blind adoption. I'm not saying we shouldn't use the AI. I'm saying is we should look at it for where it is going to be, at least within a reasonable logic, going to be positive for the society, for the planet. That involves not rushing. We need to learn where AI is not solution to, or maybe not yet, maybe not at all. There are some problems where it can make a really, really serious progress, and we should focus on those. What it cannot do, however, is our capability, our technological progress cannot outpace our wisdom and ability to understand what it does and what it could actually achieve or break. So the third recommendation is we should not actually solve problems that are not real problems by creating real ones in the process. What I mean by this, we know that whatever you put through AI will cost us energy, inefficiency, water. We can consider whether the best uses of AI are focused on our attention-seeking entertainment, or maybe, just maybe, we could prioritize education, healthcare, sustainability, making sure that we are doing well. The final one is not to surrender decision-making to entities that are valuing profit, potentially, and power above societal and ethical goods. So if I were to say, just keep in mind, our real problems are not currently created by AI. They are material overshoots, they are bias, they are inequality. Can we use AI to solve those problems, improve of them, rather than make them worse? Thank you.
Thank you. So, if we can scroll up. Yes. So now, Professor Henning.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So I think I've been introduced, but maybe just to say that my main work is on, well, as a legal academic, is on intellectual property. But in the last couple of years, I've been working, including with Maurice, for example, on questions of technology, in particular AI, but also on platform technologies on the sort of international and European/domestic level. So the recommendations I would put forward, they kind of align with the problems or some of the problems I've been outlining. Now, the problems I've been outlining in the talk were sort of focused on the realities on the ground at the moment. So I don't want to disregard these realities, but I also want to be, as Jaap was saying, optimistic and future-oriented in terms of what we nevertheless might want to aim or try to do. So 2 recommendations about what to do. I think we should think about a concept of due diligence, which is a well-understood concept in corporate law and a range of other sort of legal disciplines, and in particular the notion of a precautionary approach. A concept we, again, know very well from environmental protection and environmental law. So thinking about what potentially might go wrong, and remember the kinds of examples about sort of complexities in reality, think to the extent possible about those and try to sort of anticipate particular types of harms and trying to sort of address them as possible, as early as possible, really, and maybe by means of sandbox approaches in terms of trying to see how application of AIs work in a particular more controlled setting. That's number 1, adopting this sort of precautionary approach. Number 2, perhaps even more importantly, inclusiveness. So by that I mean 2 things. Number 1 of this point would be to focus on ensuring that everyone who is potentially going to be affected by AI has some mechanism for its own voice interests to be taken into account. That could be through consultations, that could be through other means, that could be by risk assessment tools, but we should really try to understand not only the interests of those users immediately sort of maybe addressed by a particular AI application, but the interests of those who might be indirectly affected by that, and that goes to point number 1 about precaution. Secondly, in that notion of inclusiveness, I think there's also a call for some form of fair and equitable benefit sharing. Again, a concept which exists for decades in various aspects of international law. This is about making sure that those who have allowed or who have indirectly or directly contributed to the development of AI, and if you think about especially generative AI being trained on outputs, data, copyrighted works, for example, by authors, creators on the internet, that we ensure, that's one application of this fair and equitable benefit sharing principle, that those authors and creators are equally remunerated for their input, allowing their material to be used for AI training. That doesn't necessarily mean that they get to prevent AI technologies from being used or from AI being trained on their materials, but certainly we will want to find a solution where creators' interests and technology developers' interests are being taken into account. Again, ideally at a global level, and there's a range of existing scenarios how this could be done, if there's political will. But then two things we don't perhaps want to do. Number one, try to prevent further strengthening of existing technology oligarchies. In particular, I'm worried about the accumulation of AI with platform powers. Major platforms such as Google, Meta, Amazon and others, who already control a lot of the digital ecosystem in various ways. If they also get to control AI technology to a very significant extent without, for example, limits imposed by competition law, without cooperation amongst the different states, I think that might be something where, for example, the point above about precaution will not be something we can realize. Last one then, kind of aligned with some of what I said before, minimizing harm caused by AI potentially, or by the mediation of harm through AI, in a way that we want to introduce ideally coordinated and coherent liability regimes across borders if we can. So far at the moment these are differing maybe country by country, and in their nuances we would want to have a coordinated response in this regard. I'll leave it at that and pass on to my colleagues. Thank you.
Dr. Leona. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yes, no, and again, thank you for having me here. And it's one of the very few panels I've been on where we're really focusing on very, very concrete solutions, right? What we should do and not do with respect to AI and education. And I'm really liking what the other panelists have been saying so far, and I'm echoing, something quite similar. But also just to preface that AI and education, a very complex topic, that actually this entire week at UNESCO at our headquarters back in Paris, we have Digital Learning Week this week, where a lot of colleagues and other stakeholders are precisely trying to come together and address this issue, right? So on AI and education. So just to start, so at UNESCO, we really believe that AI has the potential to address some of today's biggest challenges in education. But however, all of these rapid technological shifts and again, all of this hype with AI, right? So we run the risk of not being part of the process of how we are designing these tools and systems that will really benefit humanity. So really the first recommendation is we're really advocating that, ensuring that first question is, do we need AI? Right, in our educational tools and systems. So again, we must use this very much wisely with a lot of discernment, rigorous evaluation and planning and development from the start. And if that is developed, if we integrate AI into educational systems, so we need to ensure that it's human-centered. So humans, beyond not just being part of the loop, but humans are being front and center into the design to make sure that it meets the needs, right? Especially focusing on the variety of contexts that we have of education and learning and critical thinking around the world. So making sure it's human-centered, age-appropriate, and promoting inclusion, equity, cultural diversity, and ethical learning. So there's no one size fits all. AI is not a magic answer to this. And secondly, so with respect to the teachers, how do we empower our teachers? So our second recommendation is really both providing, addressing both sides again. So providing teachers and learners with the AI literacy and training to ensure they can critically and effectively use AI in education. So just, if I segue a very concrete example, all of us here, we use Google Maps, right? Do you now notice if you try, it's my first time in Cambridge, I'm trying to navigate Cambridge. If I don't use Google Maps, I tried it. I mean, it's quite liberating and empowering, but at the same time, you feel a sense of your orientation has been a bit, it's different now, right? So that's an example, like when one becomes so reliant on this type of technology, and this is just me and my sense of direction, but can you imagine, especially for young learners, if, one were to introduce AI at an early age, how that could really alter, critical thinking skills and just the way that we were used to, learning and growing up. And so here on very concrete tools, so at UNESCO, we also developed 2 competency frameworks on the use of AI in education. So one is for teachers and one is for learners. So very much encourage all of you to please, look this up and you'll find both resources available. And now with respect to the don'ts. So again, echoing what other panelists have said, so really making sure that what we do is always human-centered. And because of this, let's not over-rely on AI to being the magic answer. So AI should not replace teachers in classrooms. So that's the first. And then second, again, when we talk about inclusion, equity, and access, and also linking to the environmental impacts of AI, right? So we know that, these AI tools, especially bigger models, will not necessarily work in low resource settings. So what does it mean in being able to bring these, disruptive technologies, making it an equalizer, providing access to low resource communities? So it also means a reshifting of the way we design these technologies. So again, could we explore, offline tools, edge AI tools, so, educational tools that could run on low-cost, cheaper alternative devices running on limited power sources, and also can run locally, right? So with respect to implications on data privacy, that's also a game changer. So just wrapping up on that. So again, really the focusing on inclusion, equity, and access. Thank you.
I believe it's Dr. Maurice now. I believe, yeah, because we're going alphabetically. Yeah, go down. Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Maurice Chiodo. I'm a research mathematician, and for the last 10 years, I've been working on the Ethics in Mathematics project, looking at the ethical issues and impacts of mathematics, mathematical work, and mathematicians on society. I've been asked to speak today with regards to AI for human flourishing. And if you listen to the last word I used before, mathematicians, as part of the process, this is something that's been sort of broadly ignored by those talking about things like AI safety. So we talk about the AI itself, but very few people speak about where the AI comes from. And I use the term mathematician quite broadly. So anyone with a training in mathematical technologies, computer science, physics, engineering, these are the people making these AI technologies, making the things that we're talking about today. So I have a series of 4 recommendations, and you might think, well, he's the mathematician, he'll come with these like highly technical algorithms and whatever about how to make AI safe. No, it's quite the opposite. If your house is burning down, you don't go and light a fire, you do something else. If you have a problem with technology and AI, you don't make more AI, you make less of it. You do something else. So my first recommendation comes down to people, as will be focused today. Looking at the people who make AI, AI developers and deployers, these people are trained in technologies. These people are trained in mathematics, computer science, physics. They are very good at writing code, manipulating data sets. They are not very good, they're not very trained at understanding the impacts or the ethical issues that come up in their work. So my first recommendation, what to do, is to start to educate the people who are making these technologies, making these tools that we're worried about, in the very worries that we have, in issues of ethics in technology, ethics in AI, impact, safety, all these things that we care about. Because what matters most is not what we think AI should do. What matters is how these developers interpret and implement that. Our thoughts, our concerns are irrelevant. The only thing that's relevant is what the hands of the people do that make this do. My second recommendation, again relating to people, is to find ways to regulate and hold liable those who create these AI tools for any harm caused. Now, I'm not talking about prescriptive laws that say, okay, your AI can't do this and can't do this and can't do this. Because to developers, and I've taught mathematics for many, many years, they see these sorts of prescriptive laws as a game. Think of these as traffic cones in sort of a driving place, and you try and drive the car around the cones, and it's fun to try and get around all the cones. They see your laws and regulations as a fun toy to drive around. You need to flip this and have regulations that say, if your AI tool, process, service causes harm, you pay. We don't care why it causes harm or what the mechanism was. If it causes harm, you pay. And that's not in some sort of vindictive, let's make them suffer ideology. No, because if you do that, it will become part of the problem for them. Rather than having these traffic cones, you have a brick wall. Now they know we can't drive through the brick wall, we've got to stop the car. So if you can create regulation such that those building these tools are liable, they are the ones that factor those things into the problem, because they're the ones best placed to see what's going to happen. You can't forward predict all things that mathematical technologies like AI can do. Only those building it in that very instance can predict what that very thing can do, not what other stuff can do. So holding them to account makes them factored into their problem solving. Those are my two recommendations of what to do. Regarding what not to do, you already know this. The first is that, like with any new tool or technology, we don't know how it works properly. This particular one is unfalsifiable. You don't know whether the AI is telling you a good predictive thing or not. You can't rerun the world twice to test. So given that we're in this nascent stage of AI development, it would be pertinent to say, well, let's not use this in really dangerous situations. Let's ring-fence certain aspects of society. Let's not use this thing in the most dangerous parts of how we run the world. For example, high-risk medical diagnostics, high-stakes political decision-making, like decisions to go to war, nuclear control. Anything where there is a large risk to large numbers of individuals or society as a whole, these are the places you shouldn't be putting AI, at least not yet. Let's try and use it to figure out bus timetables first. Let's try and use computers to price postage stamps. Apparently, it's very difficult to price postage stamps using a computer, as we've learned in this country. If we can't use computers to price postage stamps, why would we use a computer to try and run all of society? Start with things you know aren't high risk. They'll still cause problems, but it won't cause disastrous problems. My second recommendation, and you also know this already, is to keep AI away from children. You already know this. You know that you don't put new fandangled toys, new medicines, new anything in front of children before we're fully aware of all the risks. Children aren't just vulnerable, children are our future. You mess up the children in society, you have a very long-term problem. Just ask those suffering from thalidomide poisoning. So don't use children as part of the test bed. Keep AI away from processes, from systems involving children, children's toys, methods of assessing children at school, anything to do with children interaction, child development, maybe medical diagnostics on children. Anything on or related to children, keep AI away for now, until we learn what the actual risks and harms are. You already do this quite naturally with other tools and things with children. Don't let AI be any different. AI is not different to anything else. It's a new technology. We have the existing mechanisms in society to keep ourselves safe from new technology. Use those here. Thank you.
So much. Dr. Bagonyi.
Hello, everyone. So I am Regeane, and I build AI for a living. I think it's going to be an interesting one. So I've been working as a data science and product manager for many years now. And I have a quite optimistic view on AI. And I have a quite optimistic view by the ways AI has affected on how I work. Things that would take me, I don't know, 6 months, and a team of 10 developers now take me a day, honestly, a day to build an application from the start to the beginning. And when I was having a conversation deciding what topic I would be providing the recommendations, I chose employment because I think now we are in a very good time for opportunity. And I think opportunity to translate ideas into prototypes, into demonstrable assets that could help you to build company, could help you to solve a problem within your community, could make your day easier. And it's all about having literacy. So my first recommendation would be use AI as your personal innovation engine. There is an opportunity now with AI, in my view, that expands human capability. And when I say expands human capability, is about how we manage and access knowledge. I was teaching my son, we were on a holiday, and I wanted him to learn my phone number. He's very cheeky, he's always wandering around. I wanted him to have my phone number in his little brain so that if he gets lost, he tells the person what's the phone number the person should call. It took me 2.5 days, lots of reinforcement, spaced repetition to make sure that he would get that information in his brain. I was very proud. He knows my phone number now. I keep repeating once a week just to make sure that is there. For a computer, it would be a matter of a line of code. I set up a variable called mom phone. I put it with equal, and I put the phone number in front of it. That knowledge is registered there, ready to be recalled anytime I ask throughout my code. Systems, automated systems, are fantastic in storing information and retrieving information. And this is something that humans are not efficient into it. This is why we have experts, because there is a limited capability of what you manage knowledge, how you access knowledge, and how you retrieve knowledge. But this is changing with AI, and I want us to think about this, how much opportunity this can open for us. So think of AI as a way to expand your senses, think of an AI as a way to manage knowledge, and think of an AI as a way to translate ideas into reality. And then you're going to be a step ahead in terms of evolving and extracting value from it. There is risks. I'm going to talk about them, but I want to make this very clear. There is a real opportunity now, and I want us to embrace it with responsibility. The second one is do recognize and regulate AI-human hybrid workers, and through a dedicated framework. And this, I think, is a little bit out of the box, because what I see in the field I work, so I work in technology, I code every day, and I make sure I do a more administrative role now, because I want to be in that wave. And what I've noticed is that the way that I collaborate with AI tools is becoming more and more evident. I code, I discuss my points, I bounce ideas, I create pieces of codes, I review codes, and that creates products, that creates softwares, that creates service. And this is becoming more and more effective in the ways that I work. But as the barrier to entry to AI tools becomes smaller and smaller, everybody's going to start using. We use it every day. People are writing messages using ChatGPT. Let's not be naive. It's becoming more and more evident. It's everywhere, and it's not going to change. It's not optional. And what happens is that hybrid worker that uses AI in the way that it provides the service is going to become an entity. And the way that the regulations are now put that individual in a gap is not well represented. It's where is the accountability resides when there is an output that's produced 60% by AI, revised by the human 40%. Where is the accountability? Also, if you've been working as, let's imagine, in the future there will be an AI supervisor or AI orchestrator role, and you are kind of navigating those systems, but all of a sudden you see more and more of your work being translated to the AI. How your employees' rights are sustained in that scenario is something important to think about. And also for the companies. You know, we've seen Uber situation with the gig economy. They didn't have that representation. It was a long process. For companies, that uncertainty of these roles is going to become more evident. So that hybrid role needs to be rethought. And now let's think about the don'ts. I don't think loose guidance, as we've been talking about AI, trying to regulate AI, is going to make any cut. It was very good to hear your presentation on law. It's not my area of expertise, but we need actual enforcement law to balance the use of AI, but the use of AI in the workplace. We need to understand where the accountability resides, and this is super important. And we've seen AI started being mentioned on the Employment Rights Bill of 2025, but it's still loose. There is still not the right to appeal of an AI decision. It's still not that enforcement, clear enforcement is not present in there. But my final don't is that don't view AI literacy as optional or as someone else's responsibility. And when I say AI literacy, I'm not talking about using AI, talking to ChatGPT, vibe coding. I'm talking about understanding what AI is fundamentally and what are the risks associated with this technology. I think it's super important. But also understand the use of AI, understand the capabilities of AI will open new doors, and there will be a shift in the ways that we work, in the ways that we provide value. I'm going to finish with one thought. I want us to think about our grandparents, for instance, in the employment status. Let's think our grandparents or great-grandparents. And let's imagine that we are telling them that in the future, there will be a profession that is all about tell people to pick up stuff from the floor, put their stuff up, and then put their stuff down, and there will be a person counting this. And the people would pay millions of money, lots of money for that person to tell them, one, pick from the floor, okay, lift up, down. They would laugh. They would laugh if you tell them, okay, there will be people taking photos of food and putting on the internet, and they would get money as food influencers. Or let's think about there will be people playing games, and they will be filming themselves playing games, and people would watch them playing games, and you would get loads of money for it. It's ridiculous. They would laugh of this. And we are about to experience such a shift. In the future, there will be new professions, there will be a new world, there will be a new perception of value, a new perception of purpose, because the way we operate now will change. And we need to think that AI literacy is going to put us in a comfortable position to navigate this. And it's not about technical skills, it's about cultural shift. And I want to leave with this thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bagonyi. Now, Dr. Zeynep.
Thank you. So I'm Zeynep Engin. I've been in the AI space for about 20 years now. When I started, it was really a rule-based system, so proven theoretical mathematical models to extract information from data. And then I had spent some time on biologically inspired machine learning models that try to basically mix the established statistical rules with neural network-like structures. But more recently, for the past 10 years, I have moved into another space, trying to really merge this background with the governance space, governing this interesting technology, essentially, and in particular thinking about public governance, state government, literally, and how that would adapt to these changes. So I should, for the past two years, since ChatGPT has been introduced, I think the problem has changed quite a bit, and I'm trying to still frame this. And just to maybe make some movement, may I just ask for a quick show of hands if you have used ChatGPT, Cloud, or similar tools in the past week or so? I am curious to, thank you very much. I'm curious to also see if anyone has not used it. Well, that's actually extremely rare to see in audiences. Nowadays, well, we have a couple in this room, but generally it's widely used, and it's used for anything from writing text to developing business strategies to getting medical advice in relationship counseling, etc. So diversity of use cases for one technology essentially is enormous, basically. It's a huge space to think about when you are thinking about governance. The complexity is at least as complex as human governance problems, plus all the additional problems of the technology, essentially, and that's not a small space itself as well. So, but I'm trying to bring out the point that AI in the latest forms that we are currently using is actually a relational technology, and the place that we should look at is more about how the connection between humans and this technology is where we should be looking more for the governance issues rather than intrinsic capabilities of machines. Because if you think about it again, in the ChatGPT case, it's like trying to regulate all types of conversations that are happening in people's homes, private environments, schools, streets, anywhere really, and with the additional, again, complexity of one of the entities being sort of so capable that it has read almost all the information that's available to it, and also it can respond in milliseconds to any type of question, to lots of questions essentially. So that's basically, I'm just saying this to be realistic about how far we can think about AI and how governable AI is, and whether we can find ways to ensure that the relationship works for human flourishing rather than against it. So, 2 do's and 2 don'ts. First, it's complementing the previous speaker. I am saying that we need to invest in human-machine collaborative competency. Not the kind of AI literacy that stops at, well, ChatGPT can write my essays, but more like deeper understanding of where humans and AI genuinely complement each other. We need really systematic ways of understanding where each of these entities, each of these parts excels. AI, yes, for pattern recognition, for doing things at scale, human for contextual wisdom and moral reasoning, etc. Whatever this means. So this means basically creating training programs, not that also go beyond. Well, prompt engineering is very useful, but we also need to go beyond that to really think about partnership engineering type capacities, building institutional capacity for calibrated collaboration with machines, both individually and institutionally again. Whether it's healthcare diagnosis or policy analysis, we need hybrid decision-making experiments that leverage our complementary strengths and acknowledging our respective blind spots as well. In the end, again, let's be honest, humans are brilliant at some things like empathy, ethical reasoning, etc., but we are terrible at processing thousands, hundreds of thousands, billions of different data points and parameters. And AI is obviously terrible at, I mean, if you ask ChatGPT to optimize a poetry reading, it would probably do that for maximum syllable efficiency. So we don't want both either of those, and we want to come somewhere in the middle. So the second thing that I would like to endorse is, well, we must proactively define our democratic non-delegable course. So those are the decisions that must remain under human control, not because AI cannot handle it, but because democratic legitimacy requires it. That isn't technological elitism, it's constitutional wisdom. Some decisions about fundamental values, resource allocation, rights, etc., derive their authority not from their optimality, but from their democratic origin. And AI might design the optimal taxation system that humans ever sort of managed to conceive, but if citizens haven't been part of that deliberation, it's just a very sophisticated technocracy. So we need basically AI systems designed for governance and public benefit, not just performance metrics. That's what's currently happening with the industry. Now for what we mustn't do. First, I'd say stop treating AI governance like we are running a very expensive society-wide beta test with no quality control. Sure, we are currently conducting the world's largest ungoverned experiment with general purpose AI impacting everything, all personal decisions, business strategies, etc. But our current governance approach resembles more like a Victorian gentleman trying to regulate the automobile by posting faster horses at the intersections. We need adaptive institutions that evolve with technology, not regulatory frameworks that responds to crisis after crisis happens. Proactive governance is not necessarily about predicting, well, it's not about predicting every possible failure, but it's about really building capacity, building systems that are robust enough to handle when failures occur, when failures that we cannot predict occur. And finally, we must resist on the current obsession with intrinsic AI vulnerabilities at the expense of relational governance challenges. Of course, we need technical safety. No one wants an AI that optimizes paperclip production by converting the entire biosphere into office supplies. But the more pressing question isn't really about how do we control AI, but how do we create value through human-AI collaboration. That requires, again, balancing technical safety measures with frameworks for beneficial integration across our democratic institutions. Ultimately, the goal isn't to govern AI like some digital colonial territory, but to govern AI really in building the kind of society that we all want to live in. In the end, we are not just designing systems, we are really designing the future of human agency itself. So to do's, to don'ts, teach humans and AI to work well together, keep core decisions human, don't just clean up the mess afterwards, and don't forget that AI is just not something we govern, it's something we also govern with. If we get this right, well, GPS, there are some drawbacks, but AI could be like GPS for society, helpful guidance, but we still keep hands on the wheel. But if we get it wrong, obviously, we'll have much bigger problems than that we can fit into this panel. So thank you.
Well, we initially said we're not going to take any questions, but if I can tell you the amount of messages I'm getting to my watch, I left my phone intentionally down there by people saying, can we ask questions? Can we ask questions? Can we? But, you know, such is the nature of, of time where we're really tight on time. Nonetheless, because Dr. Aga started at the beginning, I think I'd like to give it to Dr. Aga to make the sort of conclusive remarks about this session. As I said, this work is foundational. It will build the foundation. So I'll let Dr. Aga say something, and then we'll, if you can close it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think I'll roll back to what I said at the very beginning. It is a technology. I think we should proceed with caution. I will leave you with a couple of questions then, because we need to ask questions, right? We do not have all of the answers. I am sure you have opinions and views yourselves. Have you been able to use your views anywhere along the way of deployment of AI at the moment? If not, why not? Is it because you couldn't be bothered? Is it because there is no way? Think about it. Do you want something done to you that you have not been able to either criticize or endorse? I would ask you, every time we look at a new application of AI, is just to consider who will benefit. And as for any other technology, if the answer is select few, maybe we should not proceed. Finally, as I started talking about the cost of AI, there is a high cost in terms of energy, livelihood potentially, etc. We should just understand that cost. If we're not paying currently with money, we're paying with other things. Are those things implicitly or explicitly known to us? Do we know what we are doing? And once we've considered all of this, we are in position to make decisions what we shall do about AI. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking this fantastic panel. As I said, this will be the beginning of a foundation for creating a document that we will use for advocacy, for shaping, maybe at least stimulating the discourse on AI and in the interest of the public, because it seems few people or organizations or entities are actually lobbying and advocating on behalf of the public. So that's what that panel has done today, hopefully, as a start. Please join me in thanking all of them, and thank you so much for being great listeners.